In this video, we're breaking down how to block 53% better in the game of volleyball. Let's get right into it. Blocking is one of those skills in volleyball that no matter how tall you are, you can still find a way to be effective if you're doing the right things, if you're incorporating the right mechanics and fundamentals into your game. This video, we're trying to break down some of those fundamentals so you know what you're doing up there, so you're not aimlessly wandering, not knowing where to put your hands, not knowing where to move one way or another. Try and provide some clarity for you as a blocker. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. The first theme I want to touch on is the timing of the jump. Timing is everything in the whole game of volleyball, especially blocking. You can see in this clip here, we have a scramble play with a good touch from Mason keeping this ball alive, and Joe sets a high ball from the ground out to the outside. So Esteban knows here in this scenario, high ball, likely going to be two blockers here. As he goes up to make this attack, it seems like this middle is late, when in actuality, this middle is in perfect time, jumping at the same time as Esteban here. And that's the first key I want to touch on, is jumping at the same time as the attacker. If you can get up in the air and hang floating around the same time that they're in the air, you're going to get the most touches on this ball. And you can see this middle closes and is up in the air on time, and then all he has to do is turn his hips back into the court and that ball goes straight down. Now, this would be a good swing for Esteban attacking the late blocker if this was a quicker tempo set, because you want to go after the blocker that's late, that their hands aren't pressed and over the net. But since this was a high ball, gave that middle plenty of time to jump in rhythm with Esteban, get penetrated, and close that block up. So credit to him, credit to Messiah here for that block, and a lesson learned on that attack for Esteban. Esteban redeems himself here in tip number 2, talking about two focal points of blocking. The first one being helping out on the triple block and helping out in general with the read step. So we'll dive into that first. First off, you can see this ball passed to the ceiling and the setter's immediately out of system. So right away, Esteban is starting to quickly shuffle his feet out to the right, pointing that right arm to get himself ready to make that move for a triple block to the outside. Really rare that the setter is going to make this risky set all the way back to the right side, and if he does, he'll have plenty of time to get back out there. But he's making these quick little steps to give him less distance to cover. And as that set is made, Esteban moves in with a couple shuffle steps, so nice and simple, and then he's up with the same timing as the other two blockers, and this allows us to get a touch on the ball and extend this rally. Now, I would like to see Esteban get a little tighter here with his body kind of connecting with our middle poke here, just so we're a solid unit. But still, anytime we can get 3 blockers up on a high ball, we'd love to get a dig there and extend this rally. So the key here, though, is that initial awareness and vision of what's going on in the court, taking those shuffle steps, and then making that move out there and getting three blocks, 6 hands up. And if you can do that consistently on high ball sets, you make it tough on the attacker to find hitting lanes. Now this rally plays out, we get a free ball sent over, and here's another great piece of blocking by Esteban. First off, I love his setup here. He's in base defense, blocking wise, with room to cover the middle and help, but also far enough where he can cover his guy and stay locked in on who he's responsible for. By keeping that right hand up, he's locked into both. He's ready to help, but also ready to move. Once this ball is set, he makes his move, an efficient turn, and the biggest thing to focus on with this turn is his left foot. He makes a move and gets that left foot turned back into the court, and by doing that, he squares his body up and blocks this ball right back into the attacker. When blocking one-on-one, you have to get your outside foot squared back into the court. The quicker you do that, I'm telling you, the more one-on-one solo blocks you're gonna get. The biggest issue that people run into in trying to do this is drifting on their block, so they won't close that outside foot and their block will slide to the left and the attacker will just go inside of their block and get an easy kill. So that's one piece when one-on-one blocking. Make sure to get that outside foot closed back into the court. Another player on our team, Devin Robinson, I think he's one of the best I've seen to close one-on-one blocks. Look at this clip here. First of all, he makes a big step. Look at the distance he covers in that first shuffle step. He's ready to help in the middle. Then this right foot goes all the way out to his landing zone and his left foot follows closed. And then he's penetrated, shoulders are square, and forces this attacker to go really sharp angle where we don't get the dig, but he does everything he can here on a one-on-one scenario. And if that attacker does try and challenge the block, it's most likely going to be a roof, as that has happened a lot. Ultimately, I just want you to focus on one-on-one quicker set to the pins, trying to close that outside foot, get your shoulders square to the net, bring everything back into the court. That's the big takeaway. I talked previously about ball setter, ball hitter, and this goes hand in hand with that theme of just an overall awareness for your guy, the guy next to you, everything that's going on the court. Blocking is not one size fits all. You can't do the same thing every time. You can't expect the opposition to run the same offense every single time they get the ball. So being aware of what they're doing as they try and confuse you will make you a better blocker. You can see here, we get a tight pass to the setter, who is front row. So we get two guys going up for this ball. You might say, okay, Mason against a smaller setter in a joust. I like our odds with Mason here, but you can't discredit any setter's ability to make something happen at the net. He chucks this ball on a gap to the middle. We luckily get a touch on it and extend the rally, but Diego here has two guys that he's responsible for now as the middle jumps on the setter. He has the middle in front of him and he has the pin outside, and he's kind of just watching that ball. So remembering, ball setter, ball hitter. Diego has to keep his body square to the net here, see this attacker coming in with pace and get a block up there. So we're not always locking in, keying in on the ball and the setter. We got to take a peek at where those routes are coming from, calling things out, having our hands open and ready to move left and right. Last tip for you guys is hand placement on the block. Someone mentioned, I don't know how to put my hands, how to press, how to orient my hands when blocking. One drill that I used to run when I was in college was someone would hold a ball on the other side of the net, just crossing the net, and we would have to grab the outside of that ball and throw it over our heads behind us. So that's imitating getting pressed, getting your hands over the tape, so we're not just straight up and down. We're penetrated, penetrating meaning your hands are crossing that barrier over the net to take up surface area on the other team's side of the court. We see a great example of this from number 12 on Messiah, of watching this ball path, watching the attacker and pressing those hands, especially angling his outside hand back into the court, and he gets a block on this tip from Will. Ultimately, we don't want to see blockers going straight up and down. That's the easiest way to get tooled, is when you stay on your side and are flat. It's called a pencil block, and it's the easiest way to get tooled in the game. So trying to penetrate, get those hands crossed over the net is going to be your best bet for stacking up those blocks in the game. All this content is from our game against Messiah. I want to give a special shout out to them. And one final play here where they ran a pretty sweet combination play where their right side hitter stacks around in the middle for a 2-ball. Our blockers are stargazing on the setter, not seeing the hitters, and he detonates this ball straight into the ground. So if I have one thing that you take home with, it's making sure we're being aware of everything that's going on that side of the net. Not only your guy, but the guy next to you. Communicate with your blockers, work together, penetrate, and get some blocks up there. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.